I remember the night I whispered to myself, I regret marrying him. I regret marrying a man everyone calls an Islamic scholar. And I meant it. It was the same night I found a message on his phone. Not just any message, but a voice note from a young sister crying, begging him to stop contacting her. She kept saying, "You're my teacher. You're supposed to protect me from this." My hand started shaking. My heart fell. The man I had trusted with my deen, my future, my soul. He was hiding a face I never saw. My entire body went numb. I locked myself in the bathroom. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat on the floor staring at the tiles for hours, asking myself the same question. Who did I marry? And how did I miss the signs? But that's not where the story began. My name is Hafsa. I've been married for 7 years. And for 7 years, I've lived behind a curtain of silence and sadness. From the outside, I was blessed, married to a well-known Islamic teacher, always appearing in white, quoting Quran, teaching sisters, giving lectures at conferences. People would stop us in a masjid and say, "MashaAllah, what a beautiful couple. What a role model." But if only they knew. At first, I felt honored to be his wife. I was young when I met him, only 21, and he was 32, mature, respected, and praised by everyone. My father even said, "You'll go to Jannah with this man. He's a man of knowledge." I said yes with all the excitement in my heart. I thought I was marrying a man of piety, a man who would lead me to Allah. But almost immediately after the wedding, I started feeling small. The way he spoke to me changed. If I asked a question, he would answer with irritation, as if I was ignorant. He would correct me publicly, make me feel embarrassed in front of his students, and then quote hadith to justify it. But I stayed patient. I told myself, he's tired. He carries the Ummah on his shoulders. Be a good wife. Support him. I kept telling myself maybe the problem was me. The first year passed. Then the second. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel heard. He rarely spent time with me. Even when he was home, his phone was always in his hand, answering questions from sisters in need of guidance. I told myself to trust him. He was a scholar, after all. Then came the day I found a message from one of his students. A sister. She said, "Jazakallahu khair for yesterday. I'll never forget the way you made me feel safe and special." I felt a fire in my chest. But when I confronted him, he shouted, "She was just thanking me for helping her. Don't you dare accuse me of anything." I believed him. Or maybe I forced myself to believe him because I was too scared of what the truth might do to my faith. Years went by. I became quieter. I stopped asking questions. I drowned myself in Quran, tried to heal my heart. I even started teaching children tajweed at the local madrasa, just to keep my soul alive. But inside, I felt like I was slowly disappearing. Then last Ramadan, everything changed. It was the 27th night. He had just returned from the masjid after leading Qiyam. He wanted to take a shower. His phone buzzed. And something inside me, maybe the years of pain, maybe Allah's mercy, pushed me to look. And that's when I heard it. The voice note. The sister's tears. Her voice shaking. Begging him to stop. Begging him to fear Allah. I froze. And then I played it again. And again. He came out of the shower and saw the phone in my hand. "Give me that," he said, his tone suddenly cold. But I didn't move. And that's when he raised his hand. He raised his hand. And for the first time in our 7 years of marriage, I saw a rage in his eyes that no ayah could cover. His face, the same one that once smiled gently at sisters in lectures and quoted verses of mercy, was now twisted in anger. But before the slap could reach me, he stopped himself. His hand trembled in the air, then dropped. But the damage was done. Not to my body, but to my heart. I stood there holding the phone, the voice note still echoing in the background, her sobs breaking the silence between us. He snatched the phone, shut it off, and said coldly, "You have no right to go through my messages." I was too stunned to speak. I just stood there, not knowing whether to cry or scream. "You've always been insecure," he continued, as if he hadn't just been caught destroying someone's trust, both hers and mine. "Women like you destroy men of knowledge." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed beside him, eyes wide open, while he snored peacefully like nothing had happened. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was the fact that I couldn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? He was the community's darling, the scholar, the ustad, the role model. And me? I'd be called the jealous wife, the fitnah maker. The next morning, I prayed far with a heart that had completely shattered. I sat on my prayer mat longer than usual, begging Allah to give me clarity. I whispered, Ya Allah, if I'm blind, show me. If I'm wrong, correct me. If this marriage is crushing my soul, save me. A few days passed. He acted normal, as if the incident never happened. I, on the other hand, was drowning in silence. I started fasting often, just to feel closer to Allah. I stopped eating with him, stopped sleeping beside him. I tried to avoid conversations unless necessary. He noticed but didn't care. Then one evening, as I returned from the madrasa, I found the house quiet, too quiet. I called his name. No answer. I walked toward the bedroom, and as I pushed the door open, I froze. He wasn't alone. There, sitting on the edge of the bed, fully veiled and trembling, was a sister from his online tafsir class. A sister I had seen once asking him a question during a live stream. My bag dropped to the floor. He jumped up and stuttered, "It's not what you think." But I didn't need a tafsir for this scene. The truth was clear. I looked at the sister, her eyes full of shame and fear, and I knew my home had been turned into a meeting place for sin, covered in the disguise of knowledge. I slowly backed away. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I packed a small bag, left a note on the table, and walked out of the house. No shoes, just my socks, my jilbab, and a broken heart. But when I arrived at my parents' home, I faced something even worse. They told me to go back. "He's a scholar," my father said. "You're just emotional. Men make mistakes." My mother whispered, "Don't embarrass the family. Be patient. Make do." I sat in their guest room, my head spinning. Was that a problem? Was I wrong for leaving? Was patience supposed to feel like slow death? The next morning, something happened that would either destroy everything or finally set me free. The next morning, I woke up to my father standing over me, holding his phone. His eyes were filled with disappointment. "Your husband has just arrived," he said flatly. "He wants to speak with you." I felt my stomach twist. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from disbelief. How quickly everything was turning against me. I thought running to my family would bring protection. I thought they'd hold me, cry with me, defend me. Instead, they opened the door for him, the very man who shattered me. I whispered, "I don't want to see him." But my father didn't flinch. "Just listen. You owe him that much." "I owe him." The words rang in my head like thunder. I sat in the guest room while he walked in with confidence. Not guilt, not sorrow, just calm arrogance, like he had just finished giving a khutbah. He sat down, smiled at my father, and then looked at me. "Hafsa," he began, "I understand you're upset, but you overreacted." I clenched my fists. I was only advising that sister. She came to me in tears, and I gave her emotional support. That's what teachers do. You shouldn't have entered the room without knocking. I stared at him, trying to find even a drop of shame in his face. There was none. He turned to my father and said, "You raised her well, but her emotions are controlling her right now. She needs guidance." My father nodded slightly. I felt like a stranger in that room, a ghost. No one was speaking for me. No one was asking me how I felt. That night, after he left, I cried into my pillow until dawn. I asked Allah, is this what marriage is supposed to be? Is this what marrying a scholar means? That I must swallow betrayal, silence my pain, and carry his secrets to the grave. A few weeks passed. I stayed at my parents' home, but I was slowly being pressured to return. My phone would ring with messages from aunties and family friends. "You're lucky to be married to someone of knowledge. You think all men are perfect? At least he prays. He's a scholar. If you leave him, who will marry you?" I started to feel like the world had ganged up against me, like knowledge was being used as a shield to protect his sin. No one cared that I was broken. All they saw was his beard, his eloquence, his lectures. But I had seen the man behind the curtain. Then one evening, as I was folding clothes in the guest room, my phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. It read, "I'm sorry to disturb you, Sister Hafsa, but I can't stay silent anymore. I was one of his students, and I went through something similar. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. My heart dropped. Another sister? Another victim? I quickly replied, asking her to call me. She did, and that night, we spoke for 2 hours. She told me everything. The private calls, the voice notes, the inappropriate advice, the emotional manipulation covered in Islamic language, and how she thought she was the only one until she heard rumors of more. I sat in silence, my throat dry. Then she said, "You're not alone, sister. There are others. Some are too scared to speak. But we believe you." That night, something in me changed. I was done staying silent. I was done protecting a man who used religion to prey on hearts. The next day, I opened my laptop. I started writing. I wrote down every message, every voice note, every date, every time I tried to save the marriage, every time I was made to feel guilty for speaking up. But as I clicked save, I heard a knock on the door. It was my younger brother. He looked pale. Then he said words that made my knees go weak. "Hafsa, he's threatening to expose you." My ears rang. I blinked, trying to make sense of what my brother had just said. "Expose me?" I whispered. He nodded, hesitant. "He's telling people you're mentally unstable, that you ran away from your duties as a wife. He said he tried to be patient with you, but you became disrespectful and jealous." I stared at the wall, my chest tightening. My hands began to tremble. How quickly the roles were reversing. How easily truth was being buried beneath a mask of piety. I had seen it happen to other women. Good women. Women who came forward with truth, only to be silenced by community shame, by religious guilt, by people who worship titles more than they fear Allah. And now it was happening to me. I whispered to my brother, "Did anyone believe him?" He looked down. "Some are starting to. Others say they want to stay out of marital issues. Even Dad, he's confused." That night, I prayed like I had never prayed before. I went into sujud and stayed there, sobbing. My tears soaked the prayer mat as I begged Allah to be my witness, to expose the truth, to rescue me from this storm I couldn't escape. I said, "Ya Allah, you know what happened behind these walls. You saw what no one else saw. I have no one but you." The next morning, I made a decision. I reached out to the sisters who had messaged me. One by one, I asked them if they were willing to speak up, even anonymously. At first, most were scared. What if no one believes us? What if it ruins our chances to marry? What if we're blamed? But then, slowly, they began to open up. One sister had been 18 when he first contacted her for personal mentorship. Another was a divorcee, vulnerable and seeking spiritual advice. One of them cried and said, "I still feel dirty, and no one even touched me." I compiled everything: voice notes, screenshots, call logs, testimonies. I created a secure email. I wrote a letter. I didn't expose his name to the world. I sent it to one trusted female scholar in our city and asked her to investigate it privately and with wisdom. Meanwhile, the whispers about me grew louder. I'd received texts from women I didn't even know. "Sister, please fear Allah and don't destroy a good man's name. You're going to ruin Dawal work with your emotional drama. Even if he made a mistake, why humiliate him?" And the one that broke me most: "This is why women shouldn't be given freedom. Fitnah always follows." I deleted them all and remained quiet. 1 week later, I got a reply. It was a message from the female scholar. She said, "I've looked into the matter, and I believe you. I've spoken to 2 other women who confirmed similar patterns. I am taking this to the Shura quietly and will ensure justice is pursued with dignity. Please don't lose hope." I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. For once, someone didn't silence me. Someone didn't ask me to be patient with abuse. Someone didn't ask me to sacrifice myself for a man's reputation. But just when I thought maybe, just maybe, things were turning for the better, I received a voicemail from my husband. He said, "I warned you, Hafsa. You will regret this. I know things about your family. Don't make me go public." I dropped the phone. He was going to attack my family. My breath caught in my throat. Attack my family? This had gone beyond me now. My silence had protected him for too long, but now his threats had crossed a sacred line. I sat on the floor with the phone still in my hand, tears pouring down my face. "Ya Allah," I whispered, "I did what you told me. I stayed patient. I kept his secrets. I didn't expose him. But he's trying to destroy everything I love. For days, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every knock on the door made my heart race. Every unknown number made my hands sweat. I told the scholar everything, the threats, the voicemail, the emotional blackmail. She responded swiftly. The Shura Council quietly opened a formal investigation. But things got uglier. He went to my father, told him I'd planned this all along, said I was working with liberal activists to smear his reputation, claimed I was jealous of his dawah and wanted to ruin him. He showed my father carefully cropped screenshots to twist the truth. And for a moment, my father doubted me. It broke me. "You know, I raised you better than this," he said, staring at me like I was a stranger. "If you had a problem in your marriage, you come to your husband, not to the world. You don't involve strangers." I replied softly, my voice cracking, "Baba, I came to you, and you sent me back to him." He didn't respond, just looked away. But my younger brother, may Allah reward him, stood by me like a shield. He said, "I saw her. I saw the hurt. I saw the nights she cried. And I saw what he really is." It was my brother who leaked the voicemail to the scholar. And it was that voicemail that changed everything. The Shura invited him to answer the accusations. He refused, said it was beneath him, that his reputation speaks for itself. But silence is also an answer, and arrogance is a witness. Soon, sisters began coming forward, quietly, courageously. One wrote, "I was afraid no one would believe me, but Hafsa gave me strength." That sentence made every tear worth it. Eventually, the Shura made their decision. They suspended him from teaching, temporarily removed him from dawah events, ordered him to undergo counseling. And most importantly, they believed the victims. He called me that night. I didn't answer. Then came the final blow. He sent divorce papers. No apology, no remorse, just a note that said, "You've embarrassed me enough. Enjoy your freedom." And so I stood there with the papers in my hand, 7 years of pain folded into one envelope. A marriage that began with high hopes ended with a signature and silence. But I wasn't broken anymore, because now I knew my worth was not in his title. My voice was not a fitnah, and my silence no longer served Allah. It served a man who used the religion to hide his darkness. I walked out of that house not as his wife, but as a woman Allah rescued from a silent storm. And I realized something most people never talk about. Sometimes the hardest regret isn't marrying a bad man. It's marrying someone everyone thought was righteous, but who made you feel further from Allah. So yes, I regret marrying an Islamic scholar, but I do not regret leaving him, because now I finally know who I am. And more importantly, I finally found my way back to Allah.